DJ and PK, we are joined now by Ben Jacobson, the new basketball coach at Utah State. Coach, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having us on, guys.
Well, thanks for coming on. I guess the first question for you is, as a guy who'd spent about a quarter of a century at Northern Iowa, how hard was it to leave? Were you thinking maybe it was time to move on and the Utah State opportunity came out? How did all that play out, and how hard was it to pick up and go?
Yeah, it was hard in some ways, but most of those being personal and in terms of my family. My wife and I have got two boys, but they're in college now. Hunter just finished at Northern Iowa and is going to student teach in the fall, and our son Tanner's over at University of Nebraska, and so they're 20 and 22 now and older. And then I've got my family back home in North Dakota, and obviously close enough with them. So most of it on that side. And I say that Northern Iowa is a wonderful place, and we able to do some terrific things over the years with our basketball program, and we've got great friends there. So we're going to miss that part of it. But the last 2 years for us, guys, at Northern Iowa, we were 20 wins NIT, 23 wins NCAA tournament. Had a group of guys that stuck together, and that part I feel really, really good about. And then the excitement of this opportunity has been the thing that just keeps hitting me in the forehead. I've been here for about 10 days now, and I just can't get over the energy around town and the energy on campus, is the conversations I'm having with our players, the conversations I'm having with Cam, our athletic director, and his staff, and the support from our president. So, man, the excitement is just terrific right now for me.
Coach, we've been doing this show for almost 25 years. It's called DJ and PK, and I'm the PK portion of it. And here's the secret and the key. If you want to get Utah State to the Sweet 16, you coached in the Sweet 16 once, and PK, was there. So when you get to the tournament, make sure I'm there, because I was covering Jimmer Fredette and BYU in Oklahoma City and was sitting courtside when you upset Kansas, but I think it was in 2010. So that's the difference there. Remember that when you get to the postseason. Tell your AD and Doug Hoffman and those guys, just make sure I'm there, because when you got to the Sweet 16, I was stunned just as much as everybody was in that, I think it was called the Ford Center at the time in Oklahoma City. I'm not sure what it's called now. But, yeah, that was a wild experience to see, and the kid with the big, long last name is coaching at Colorado State now. I enjoyed that very much, and I've been following you since then because I was watching that and knowing that you've had success, and was very impressed that Utah State was able to get a guy of your caliber, because you've been around the block a time or two. With that in mind, that walk around that block has changed so dramatically since 2010 versus to what we have now. And you had to, one of your first moves, I'm sure, was to meet with the players and, in a sense, re-recruit guys to get guys to stay. And you got two guys, Falslev and Templin, the big-time players for the program. We've watched them, and Falslev we saw in high school. How did you approach that in getting them, and they had to make the decision, obviously, to stay, because I think that was the first most important thing, and you scored a bucket or two on that one.
Yeah, and it was, and that's I talked about it in my press conference, and made sure that our players on this team understood that without any question they are the priority. We've approached it that way. I've approached it that way as a head coach. Our current players, and now with the portal and the NIL, retention of roster has been our top priority. And so you start by sitting down, and all of the guys that are in town, we're immediately in the office, the afternoon of the press conference, and just start having conversations with them. And you've got to get to know each other on short notice. But man, have I been impressed with each of the guys that I've met with. And you talked about Mason, and you talked about Carson, and I mean, there isn't a better place to start. You got Player of the Year, and you got Sixth Man of the Year. But the thing, I know our fans understand this, but you talk about two terrific young men, and having the opportunity to have a number of extended conversations with them. Even though I've known them for 10 days, they are easy to see why they love this place and why Aggie Nation loves those two guys. And then, we've got two of our young guys that redshirted, Braden Bowe and Kingston Tosi. Both of those guys have re-signed and are coming back as well. So a great start. We've got a couple more guys in the current roster that we're still talking with as well. That piece is the most important. It's our priority right now. It's going to be our priority when we get to this time next year, and that's the retention of our roster. And in talking to the guys, they feel I've used the word energy a lot yesterday and today, but they feel it and have been much longer than I have. Whether that's in the spectrum, it's around the community. The way this community embraces our athletic department, our university, and our basketball program is second to none. And those guys really appreciate it, and they're thrilled to be back.
I'm really intrigued by what you think of scheduling. I know this is going to be influenced by going into the I don't know what it's, Pac-9, whatever it's going to be. I don't know what they're going to – the rebuilt Pacific Conference. But as far as non-conference, and Jared Calhoun came on our show multiple times, and he was really upfront about the fundraising he had to do to get NIL. The Players Era Festival in Las Vegas is expanding. Aggie fans travel. I know the Big 12's got like a quarter of that 32-team field locked up. But as far as the rest of it, is there a chance to get in there? How do you want to schedule? What are you pursuing?
Yeah, that's one that we would love to be in, and we'll have those conversations. And then in total, with 16 non-conference games right now. We're looking at anywhere from depending on what the games are, anywhere from 6 to 7 up to 8 or 9 of those quad one. Hopefully most of them are quad one, but quad one, a couple quad twos. But I've always felt that getting as much of that done in the non-conference as we possibly can is so important. Right? So the opportunity to put yourself in position for an at-large bid. If things are going great and you've got that kind of schedule, with us now moving into the new Pac-12 and what that league is going to look like and the opportunities there to continue to increase, the metrics, and the numbers. So if you are in position to get an at-large bid, you need to be. And the best way to do that, of course, is through your non-conference schedule. And then if you're winning those games, now you're talking about seeding. So, we're going to work hard to have a non-conference schedule that is going to impact our numbers, our metrics, and if we're doing what we know we're capable of, then you're talking about seeding. Okay? And I know that was a big deal this year, right? Our team got a 9 seed this year, and I've talked with the guys about it, and it feels like a 7 seed was more fitting of our basketball team this past year. So doing everything we can in the non-conference, that if we do it right and we're in the top, the top couple, or we have the kind of year where we win the Pac-12, that now you're talking about a 4, 5, 6 seed instead of an 8 or 9 seed. So that non-conference schedule is one that we're gonna work hard at.
So, Coach, I grew up in Arizona, right? And at the time when I was growing up, there were 3 Division I programs. You had NAU, ASU, and the U of A down in Tucson. Since Grand Canyon has elevated its program, it's that, right? So you got 4 with a state of about double the size, at least, of Utah. You go into Utah, the sports crazy state that we are. You got 2 down in southern Utah. You got 2 in Utah County. You got Salt Lake. You got Weber. You got Logan. I mean, there's basketball programs all over this state. And if I look at, and I'm going to say, well, what is the ideal college town in the state? I'm probably going to go north to Logan. Have been up there many times over the years, as we all have in the media. And so it is a little bit of a peculiar area. And I'm wondering how you're going to go about ingratiating yourself into what this state is about, because it is sports crazy, but it's a little bit different from some of the other states that surround us.
Yeah, in terms of, my approach, our approach as a staff, similar to what I've always done. I worked for Rich Glass at the University of North Dakota, who I also played for. I worked for Greg McDermott at the University of Northern Iowa. And everything about them was about the relationships, with the players, the relationships with the staff, with the other head coaches and their staffs, the relationships on campus, and the relationships out in the community. And the way you do that is being there, and you got to show up for people. And so we're going to do that every which way we can, and getting out and in terms of meeting people. But you got to follow those up, and you got to be there for people. So that piece of it I'm really looking forward to. And I haven't been on all of the other campuses that you mentioned, but I think you're right when you say right now I am sitting in the one that I think a lot of people consider to be the college basketball town of our state. So, and I know the other ones are great. Where BYU is, and Utah, of course, and the others. But man, I'm excited about the one, the place I'm sitting right now.
Ben Jacobson joining us, new Utah State basketball coach. What's your philosophy on putting together a team in this era? There are some schools that are still really invested in high school kids. There are others that are get old, stay old. And I'm curious about how you feel about how long you want kids in your program, 1, 2, 3, 4 years, whatever that is, and how you plan to go about building this team.
Yeah, it's recruiting high school players, and we're gonna do everything we can and work very hard so that the high school players in the state of Utah, that this is a great option for them. So that's where we'll start. It's something we've been doing for a long time, and then when our season gets done, the priority, as I talked about early on here, the priority is the retention of our players. And then we will go into the portal to fill a specific need. And with the philosophy, the intent that we're going to have players in our program for 4 years and 5 years if they would redshirt. That's going to be the way that people see Aggie basketball. As a guy like Mason, who's going to be here for his entire career. Just finishing up at Northern Iowa with a point guard named Trey Campbell. That was a 4-year starter for us. And the year before that, one of the best players in our league at the time, our league, the Missouri Valley Conference, named Titan Anderson, and he was a 5-year guy for us. So Titan Anderson 2 years ago, Trey Campbell this past year, and now Mason here at Utah State. So that is we're going to approach it that way, and we're going to work very hard to have guys that stay with us and have their entire career here. And I understand the difficulties of it, and the challenges of it, but we're going to work hard to do that through recruiting high school players, retention of our own guys being our top priority, to have guys around here for 4 and 5 years.
We know that money available for players is a big thing, and you need it, obviously, to win. I'm wondering how much, certainly I would think you would investigate what Utah State has available financially, and what's your level of satisfaction with whatever that number is.
Yeah, we talked extensively about that in the couple days when we were getting to know each other, and I feel great about what our athletic director, Cam Walker, is doing and his vision and his plan. I feel great about the support of our president, the alignment there, and that's really the key is the support from the president, from our athletic director, and that they're aligned and they are. So, man, I feel great about it. Where it's at and the approach that we are taking. I do. I feel great about it. And one of the 2 or 3, main reasons why I feel so good about being here right now is the leadership on campus with our president and with our athletic director.
How much did you know about Utah State or talk about it with the coaching friends? And I'm curious in coaching circles what the rep was for a place that seems to continually produce NCAA tournament teams, even while having, even by coaching standards, a staggering amount of turnover.
Yeah, we played here once when I was at Northern Iowa. When Craig Smith was coaching, Sam Merrill and the big fella, Cada. So we were out here once and played. So, just walking in for shoot around, and then obviously walking in for the game, and just seeing the Estes Center and at that time, obviously, you're thinking about your team and you're getting prepared. And so, having been here once, but more so, Craig Smith and I have known each other for a long time, and just seeing him and talking to him about his time here on that level. And then, just watching Utah State play. I'd watched them a little bit before Craig got the job, and I've watched them more since because Craig and I, like I said, have had a great relationship for a long time. So I've watched them play. And then, we can all see the success, and we can all see the numbers in terms of the NCAA tournaments and, the tradition and the history going all the way back to Coach Morrow, and had an opportunity to talk with him the other day, and that was really, really fun for me to be able to do that. So, all of the tradition and history and success in a basketball program is extremely exciting, appealing, when you're going through the process. But being able to talk to people that have coached here, people that have played here, and now talking with our players, they're like, Coach, they're just like, I'm telling you, can't wait to have you in there for our first game in the Spectrum. They say, Coach, it's crazy in there. The herd is second to none, and the atmosphere in the building is as good as it gets in the country. So, all of those things are well in place and well established.
Do you have any locals on your staff?
Working through that right now. The staff is not complete. Working with a couple of my assistants from Northern Iowa, and then have been talking with some assistant coaches that are tied to this region, but nothing is final yet.
Do you expect players from Northern Iowa to follow you?
There could be some of that. Yep. With the portal opening yesterday, and some of those wheels start turning now that the portal's open. So, there could be some of that.
Yeah, how do you go about that? Obviously you got a relationship with those guys. We understand that. But that portal, and you literally have thousands of kids. How do you narrow it down based on who you know versus what you need and all that stuff? Because that seems so overwhelming to me.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot there, and you can certainly get get lost in the just the sheer number of players. So we've our approach has been, and it's going to be the same here. It's the same right now. We've got a good idea of what we need from a roster standpoint. Right? So you lock in there and try not to get distracted by all of the other positions that aren't a need for you. So you lock in position wise, and then you find the guys that you know a little bit about, or people reaching out to you and let you know what they've got at those certain positions, and talk through that a little bit. The thing that we found and had success with is players that we've recruited the first time around, that have gone elsewhere, so you've got a relationship with them. Older guys that have got 1 or 2 years left. And then for us, very important, the same approach we take with our high school players, we take with the portal, in terms of good young guys and great families, and, the high competitive spirit, high care factor. Like, we aren't looking for something different in terms of what a young guy is made of when we're in the portal. We're looking for those same things. And then, production is something that's been important to us. And, I've learned over the last 3 years, when you're looking at guys is, so a combination of those things, but getting pretty specific, because otherwise you can get lost with the number of guys that are in there.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we appreciate a few minutes. We know you're juggling a lot of things right now. You got a lot of balls in the air. So thanks for taking a few minutes to talk with us and with the Aggie fans listening. We're all intrigued to see how it goes. Thanks for joining us, and good luck.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
There's the head coach at Utah State, Ben Jacobson, settling in after a long run at Northern Iowa. But you don't really get that much time to settle in. Put together a staff, put together a schedule, hit that transfer portal. Let's go. Yeah,
that's the reality of it, man. You have got to hit the ground running. There is no, I'll ease into this thing now the way everything is set up.
Right. Yeah. All right, DJ and PK, when we come back, everything you missed in this show. Talk about Rob Wright into the portal, leaving BYU, the Masters. We had Bob Casper on. It's all coming up next. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
You have the box score in front of you?
I do.
How many minutes did Kyle Filipowski play?
Phil played 24 minutes.
How many minutes did James Harden play?
39 minutes.
It's not a good sign. You're in Salt Lake City. The Jazz are not trying to win. That's exactly why the Jazz made the trade they did. The Donovan Mitchell trade of knowing you're only going to last so long in the playoffs. You just didn't know how far it was going to take you, but you knew it was not going to take you to a championship, which Jazz fans will remember. And it's actually a type of pain that when you're not experiencing it, you might forget about it. But it's this is not going to end the way you want it to, but I guess you'll just watch the playoffs as long as they last. And they said, we want to actually raise the ceiling to a point where maybe there's a championship, and the pain to get there is going to be significant, and that's what these 4 years have been, and it is.
I was always in the camp of you either do it or don't, and they went into the rebuild, which I think will eventually pay off.
Catch Jake and Ben weekdays from 10 to noon on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.